Skate Talk Online, the ultimate figure skating resource.
Hi, I'm Kiira Korpi, a five-time Finnish national champion and two-time Olympian.
Thank you, Kiira, for joining me today.
Thank you.
You retired from skating in 2015. What have you been up to since?
All kinds of things I've been doing. I did a little bit of shows, skating shows, in Europe and some here in America, where I live actually now in New York, and then some in Asia. And then I've been involved in many TV productions in Finland and with the Olympics last year. And then recently I started university again. I started studying and yeah, I've been moving around. First, I lived in Milan for a little bit with my husband. And then about 2 years ago, we moved to New York. And also this year I got married. So a lot of good things.
First of all, where did you meet your husband?
Well, we met in Italy actually. I was competing in the 2010 Worlds after the Olympics. And then we had some friends in common in Finland who sort of put us together, that we had sent some messages. And then Arthur, my husband, was living in Milan at that time, so he drove out to Turin to watch the competition, and we met after that. It was the worst competition of my life, almost, but it turned out pretty good
Yeah,
because
that's not bad luck. Yeah, that's good luck. Are you still involved in skating at all? I know you mentioned that you worked with the Olympics earlier this year. I know you did commentary for the World Championships last year when it was in Helsinki. Are you involved as far as coaching, choreographing, anything like that?
Yes, I am involved, but not full time. But I've done some programs for the skaters in Finland, and then I teach some skaters here, Chelsea peers. I've been so positively surprised how in America skating is not just about the competing. There are a lot of adult skating, for example, and other, like, I don't even know all the categories, but like theater and ice and all this like more artistic sides of the sport, or you can make it more as a hobby. And you have Ice Theater of New York here in New York, and then that's been like a really nice thing for me to notice coming from Finland, where I mean, we have synchro, which is nice, but we don't have adult skating. And then I go to Chelsea Piers or anywhere, and there are people who have started skating probably when they're 40, or like have stopped and then started again. So it's been nice to notice and come out of my competition view and like a little bit see like, oh, skating has so many dimensions.
Later this week, Finland is actually hosting their first senior Grand Prix event. China withdrew their entry this year, so Finland stepped up and said, we would love to host. Helsinki, especially with the World Championships, they've hosted it twice in the last 20 years. They've hosted many European championships. Really, really dedicated fans. Finlandia Trophy is always really well attended every year. Do you think that potentially this could be a full-time stop in the future?
I absolutely think so. I think the Finns are great at organizing events, and we have history with skating, so we have a lot of fans. And yeah, I'm positive about that, but we'll see. We'll see.
Did you do any promotional work, or do you have any involvement in the Grand Prix, or not this year?
No, unfortunately, not this year, since I'm dedicated to my studies here in New York. But I was very involved with the World Championships, and that was such an amazing competition. And I'm so happy that the federation made a great result, also economically, so we can like invest that money to developing the sport.
You skated at a time in Finnish skating when ladies were in their golden era. You had Susanna Poikio, Elisa Dre, Elina Katunen, Laura Lepisto.
Yes.
How was that, and do you think that Finland can ever get back to that level?
Well, first of all, that was an amazing time. I'm sure we didn't even realize it fully then, but now looking back, we can see that wow, it was quite of a golden era, like you said. And I think what really made us so good was our team effort. Like, for example, me and Laura, we are the same age, and we used to compete together since we were like 10 years old, and we were in the federation's national team for the youngsters, and we had a lot of camps together, and Finland is always actively inviting other like coaches from other countries. And at that time there was the ISU development project in Finland that I got to go and work with world famous coaches, so that definitely helped. And like I said, the team spirit, of course we were like fierce competitors on the ice, but then we pushed each other in a good way also. And what was the other question? Can we ever go back?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, of course it's possible, but it's very difficult. I feel like Russia has raised the level of the sport to another world almost. So it will be challenging, but it's possible.
So looking back at your career, I would think one of the first biggest moments of your career was the 2006 Europeans. It was the competition that was solely used to determine the two entries from Finland for the Olympics that year. And you were actually the highest placing woman from Finland at that event. So you got a ticket to Torino from that. You were still skating on the Junior Grand Prix that season. Did you ever think that there was a chance? I know you finished third at the national championships that year. So you go into Europeans. Did you have, in the back of your mind, did you think, oh, I can really do this?
I think I did. I probably didn't say that aloud or didn't say that it was my goal, but for sure I was very ambitious already then, and it was like something that I tried to accomplish. And maybe the advantage for me was that I knew it wasn't a must. Like I had many years to come, so I was like the underdog, and it's always easier for that position to make it. And yeah, that definitely changed my life. The going to the Olympics and suddenly becoming very well known in Finland, and a lot of sponsors and media and all this. So I had to kind of grow up in one night to be the kind of the ice princess of Finland and the representation of all these sponsors and the country. So it was a big deal. I didn't, of course, realize it then. You just live in the bubble and take it as it goes. But I would say one really special competition for me, of course the medals are always special, but even more special was the 2009 Europeans home in Helsinki, when we had the golden era and Laura Lepistö won and Susanna Pokia was third, and then I was fifth. And one moment that I really remember so well was the free skating when I fell doing crossovers. After the first 10 seconds of my program, I fell on the boards, and I was like so shocked and embarrassed and didn't know what to do. And then I went to my coach and was like, can I continue? And then I was able to continue. And then when I look back, I feel like that was one of the moments, because normally you feel like you're skating by yourself. But that moment, I really felt like the audience was skating with me, like the whole 10,000 people, Finnish people with their flags. I don't think I would have been able to skate or continue or skate so well if they hadn't, like the energy just helped me so much, and that has really stayed in my heart as a special occasion in a funny way.
After you got to the Olympics and you really blew up, you were named, the most beautiful woman in skating all over the place. Do you feel like the expectations just went so high that it was a lot to manage, or at that time were you still in that bubble where you really didn't necessarily realize that all of this was happening?
Um, Maybe yes and no. I mean, I think I got the European medal kind of early. I think I wasn't technically as solid. I mean, the jumps were always my struggle, like the consistency. And because then I won the medal so early, and maybe my consistency with my technique wasn't that great level in the great level yet. So of course it was a lot of kind of pressure. And then then I also tried to study full time and tried to do everything like a perfectionist, typical perfectionist. So at some point I had many like smaller burnout moments during my career or injuries when my body just told me to stop. So yeah.
So throughout your career, you did deal with a lot of injuries.
Hmm.
Do you think that you just said that you were a perfectionist? Do you think that you pushed yourself too much and that was just the result of it? Or was there something maybe in the way you trained? Or why do you think that you were burning out so much, basically?
Yeah. Well, it's hard to say. I'm sure it's a combination of a lot of things. But I remember the moment I think I was 18 or 19 and I didn't have any injuries yet. And I was like kind of like surprised, like how can these skaters have so many injuries and I had like nothing. But then they started like piling up, and one one factor was after my first worlds actually, and there I got to see all the like world competitors, and I got to like talk with the older skaters, and then I see how they were eating and stuff. So I started like losing weight intentionally a lot, and in the beginning it felt great. I mean, I could jump higher and everything, but then I didn't really know how to stop. I mean, I wasn't like too thin. I did, but I was always trying to, like, I always had the fear of gaining weight in the back of my mind. So I was like kind of playing it safe, not eating. Probably I wasn't eating enough. Like the amount of calories that I was burning was so much. So probably I was always like a little under what I needed, what my body would have needed. So that can be one factor. I don't know, because also my test results, like the jumping and everything, started to go down. Even in the beginning, it went up, but then after a while, it went down. And also, I mean, the mental factor too. I was like very ambitious in school, and right after high school, I wanted to study to the very difficult exams to pass, like to get applied to the university. So I was like training like crazy, and then every 3 minutes I was reading, and it was just like too much, and all the media and everything plus, like in addition to that. So
Do you think that the ISU in general and coaches are well informed enough to let these younger skaters know what is right and what is wrong? Because you realistically, you know that when you're a teenager, when you're a kid even, you listen to everything around you, and
mhm.
you see other people and you kind of compare yourself to that person. And but do you think that the coaches and even the ISU have a responsibility to make sure that everybody is healthy? And do you think they actually are successful in doing that?
Well, that's a tricky question. I'm sure we could all do more to educate the skaters and educate the coaches and just be mindful of how we act, because that's how kids learn, like by example and by hearing their coaches. Like, it's just very normal that you hear coaches or even skaters, like comparing at the competition, like, oh, she looks like she's in a good shape because she's so skinny. Or like I got some of my coaches when I had been sick. Like I remember one time I was having a terrible like stomach flu for many days. I couldn't eat, and I was at the camp, and then a coach told me like, okay, now you look great. When I came back to the rink, and I felt like I can't even do a single axel because I didn't have any power. And then so I don't know, maybe he made it as a joke, but when you're a young like teenager, you might not take it as a joke.
Right.
So I guess those are the things that we should be mindful, but I'm completely guilty of that too. Like it's, you grow up in the world and you're like comparing, and you think that the only thing that matters for if the skater is in a good shape or not, if she's like looking
Really thin,
or not. But yeah.
Speaking about these fears and these doubts and some of the issues in skating, you wrote a book. If you translate it into English, it's called Broken into Wholeness.
Yay!
How we know a little bit about why the name is what it is, but how did this all come about?
Well, I guess I didn't really decide. Life kind of decided for me, and suddenly I like got many requests from people and from a publishing company that they would be interested in my story, and yeah, I was like, in the beginning I was like what's the point writing an autobiography when you are not even 30? I mean, now I'm 30, but at that time I wasn't. So, but then I knew that how much I've been reading a lot of autobiographies by athletes and by other people, and I've got a lot of inspiration, and like it has helped me a lot during my difficult times. So I was like, that kind of made me think again, and then I was like, well, if I can help other people by telling my story, which might not be so pretty, but if it helps other people, so I wanted to do that.
Since it is only in Finnish, as far as it right now,
Yes.
maybe in the future it will be translated.
Yeah,
Can you tell everybody a little bit more about what you discuss in the book?
Yeah, I mean, it's about my life. Surprise, surprise. From like childhood until now, basically. And but I guess the main issue, or the main message of the book is to tell how, like, not even noticing that I became like kind of the prisoner of my own mind, and tried to like suppress all the feelings of the anxiety and everything that was like obviously there, but I just didn't want to acknowledge it. And then how I became almost obsessed about skating, like the kind of growth mentality, and just like doing it for the learning and for the enjoyment, slowly like turned into like this, I guess obsession is a good word. And yeah, and then it also tells, after my last competition, like how I was just so mentally and physically burned out and empty, and then how I sort of had to reconstruct myself, not just as a skater, but as a human being. And yeah, and that work is still going on.
Your last competition was the 2015 World Championships. You skated at Europeans a month before that, and you were in 4th place in the short program. Ended up having to withdraw, so you definitely, obviously 4th place, you were in good shape at that point. You go to Worlds. not a very good short program. You don't make it to the free skate. At that point, did you just say, "Hey, like too many injuries, this is too much. I'm putting too much effort into this. I can't do it anymore"?
No, actually, I had no idea that that would be my last competition. Like I was like on it, like going for the Olympics and everything. And even after the competition, it was like the lowest level of my skating career, probably. I even after that, I didn't like. I was so in the
Yep.
zone of skating that I was just like, okay, now I just need more time. I had just recovered from my Achilles tendon surgery, and I was not in my like best shape yet. So I was like, okay, I need more time training, da da da. But something had like broken during that competition. Like I felt like the identity of me as a skater kind of broke, and then I was just uh, so empty. I don't know if empty is the right word, but I felt like my, not just physically and mentally, but even my soul and my spirit and even just breathing was hard. And I was like, if I keep going on like this, I will go crazy, or maybe I was a little bit, I mean, not just a little bit crazy, but like not well. And then I started thinking about my values. Like I've always valued health and my family and love and good relationships and this learning, like curiosity in life and learning. And then I was just like, I'm not really living through my values. Like I'm always injured or sick mentally or physically, and I'm alone training in Germany. I don't know anyone. I'm like lonely. so so then slowly, but it took many months for me to decide, because I was so like, one part of me was just so determined, like of course I cannot quit because I haven't reached my maximal potential. But then the other side of me, I guess more the my heart, or the intuition, the more quiet voice was saying that okay, maybe it's enough. And then yeah, took a few months, but then I was ready to move on.
Do you have any advice for the Gabrielle Dalemans and the Gracie Golds of the sport that were dealing with mental issues in the midst of their careers? Is there anything you can specifically
Yeah.
tell them from your own
Yes.
experiences?
Yes. Well, for sure, working with psychologists, sports psychologists, or other mental health professionals would be helpful. I think even if you don't have any problems, it would be helpful to have those people in your team. Ideally, your own coach would be kind of embodying that kind of spirit. Like for me personally, I could name Shailene Bourne as one of the mentors and choreographers slash coach who has been a real energizing figure in my skating career. And when I work with her, I'm always like, like this is why I love skating. And I get that many coaches, they get into the same, maybe it's easier for a choreographer or outside person to come with the fresh air, but it's like the coach and the skater, they're almost married because it's like so deep, the relationship, and you spend so many hours together. So it's hard to keep that in balance and have the positive environment. But yeah, like I said, the psychologists are very helpful. At least for me, was very, very helpful during my career. It didn't really protect me. I think it's also good to try a few different ones. I found a really good psychologist, but only very towards the end of my career, and the beginning was not. I mean, it was good too, but maybe not the best. But yeah, and then I think I would encourage the parents and the family be also concerned if the skater seems to be very tired or moody or something, that is there something going on.
Going back to the skating side of things, you skated at a time when, as a junior skater, you were still in the 6.0 system. You then transitioned into IJS, and it was in its very beginning stages. It's really, really expanded since then. Was it a really difficult learning process to switch between the systems, or did you just kind of go about how you would typically? I mean, I know you were young
Yeah.
at the time, but did
Yeah.
you feel like it was a difficult transition, and what system do you prefer?
Good question. Well, I think Finland was one of the countries who really absorbed the system quite well, and maybe that's why we broke into the top level in lady skating. And so obviously, I think it was a good change for me as a Finnish skater. And maybe I was so young that it wasn't that big of a shock or like adjustment. Of course, there were a lot of rules, but I think it went quite well, and I think it has made our sport a little bit more objective. At least now you can see some of the scores, like where do they actually come. But then again, it has become very technical. Our sport has like become so demanding that I don't know how the skaters can stay healthy with all this crazy jumping. And maybe the artistic part has suffered a little bit, but then not so much. I mean, I'm in awe of the skaters nowadays because they are just good in everything.
And it's true. You did triple toe at a young age, and you were one of the few ladies that was even trying a triple. And now you
Yeah.
look. I mean, almost to qualify for the free skate at the World Championships, you pretty much need a triple now. It's
Yeah.
that fast of a transition.
It
So
is very fast.
it's definitely going in that direction. Uh,
Yeah.
so back in 6.0 and back in the early days of IJS, the spins were really, kind of a throwaway element. The footwork was
Yeah. Yeah.
especially a throwaway
Yeah.
element. You got through it in about 10
Yeah.
seconds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think with all of the advancements and all of the special features needed in order to get these high levels, do you think that takes away from the time that you could invest in the choreography? And do you feel like there is still enough time?
Well, maybe a little bit. I mean, I remember then working with the David Wilson and Shannon Bourne, and they were like, this step sequence, like it's hard to be so creative as you would like, and then just fit all the steps and everything that is needed. And sometimes it can become a little bit mechanical, repetitive, and everyone is doing the same. Like every year you see some trends, like, okay, now everyone is doing this kind of spin variation, and now it's this. So yeah, I think before the programs were maybe a little bit more unique, or like,
I would agree. I
don't
mean,
know.
for example, you had the spiral sequence for a long time, and then the rules
Yeah.
made it that every single lady was doing the exact same spiral sequence, so they got rid of it. Same
Yeah.
thing with the layback, basically. I mean, it's still
Yeah.
required in the short program, but it's every lady that is flexible is doing pretty
Yeah.
much the same exact thing. So
Yeah.
in a sense, I think, and you can expand on it, but I think that maybe the creativity as far as a big part of skating is now gone, because it's like you're
Yeah.
only going to do what gets you the most points.
Yeah, that's true. But then I would say that the best skaters like Carolina Kostner or Yuzuru Hanu, they can still, or Javier Fernandez, they are so good in everything that they can make it look like very creative. But then maybe the rest, like the masses, so to say, that I think is it's harder to make it unique. But Yeah. I don't know. It's like it's become more objective, I think, and better in a way for skaters, the system, and especially for small skating countries. But then we have lost a little bit of the
Uniqueness, maybe.
yeah, yeah.
Did you have a favorite program that you skated?
Yes, my absolute favorite was Over the Rainbow. Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I think I skated it during the 2011 and 12 seasons, seasons, a short program by Shailene Bourne that I really liked.
Did you have a favorite free skate?
I had several, but one of my really favorites was my Evita program when I first worked with David Wilson. In my last season's free program that I never really, maybe I should make a comeback because I never really could do my Sibelius program. That would have been like, or was very like close to my heart, but then I couldn't perform it at the Europeans because I got sick, and then at Worlds I didn't qualify. So I only performed it once or twice in the competition. So
You always had
I'll think about the comeback now.
yeah, no, just to show off that program. You always had beautiful dresses. Did you have input in creating these, or was there someone that you went to throughout your career?
Well, I started to use fashion designers quite early, and that made a really big difference, I think, because there was some person coming from not from the skating world who had like no idea and who could bring some like fresh different ideas. So, but of course, I could also have my own input and I could say the last word, and my coaches also could say their opinion. But yeah, some of them were like quite controversial. Like I remember having a dress like black and white stripes, and in the beginning of the season the judges were like shocked, like how can you have this horizontal black and white stripes, and it looked like kind of leather and with the long like I don't know how to call it, turtleneck. But then I'm so glad that I kept it, because then it became like a hit, or like people really liked it because it was different. But then a few other times I sort of gave in, which I'm a little bit like I regret it a little bit, because then some other dresses that I had very unique or different, and then the judges said something and then I modified them. But I think if I now could go back, I wouldn't, because that made them unique.
Did you have a favorite jump?
Yes, my favorite jump was loop. I was very comfortable with the edge jumps like axel and salchow and loop, and flip and lutz and toe was like, especially lutz and flip were the most difficult for me.
Tell us about your wedding. It seemed like a fairy tale. I think anyone would have dreamed to have a wedding like this. How long did it take to plan? And what was the response from everybody that was able to attend?
Oh, well, it was the dream. I mean, it looked like a fairy tale and it felt like a fairy tale. I'm telling, I was like, the whole day I was like, oh, is this real? And we were so lucky that we got a wedding planner from Italy who was like so into organizing. So that made the planning quite easy. It took only one year, and we didn't like, I mean, obviously we worked with her, but it wasn't a very stressful thing for us. And yeah, the location was in Lake Como, close to Milan in Italy. And I mean, we went there on our third date. Arthur took me to that Villa Balvianello, one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. And then we were like kind of joking already then that if we ever get married, we should do it here. And then actually we already had reserved the place for 2014 because I thought I would quit after that. But then we postponed the wedding, and then we postponed it more because we wanted to try living together before getting married. And then finally 2017 he proposed, and then we got married this April. And yeah, I'm sure the guests, we had only 75 guests, so it was kind of small, intimate wedding, and I feel like it was a beautiful experience for the guests, and they could stay for a few days, and we were lucky with the weather and everything. So yeah, that's definitely maybe the even bigger achievement in my life than any other medal in skating or something.
Were there any other skaters at your wedding?
There were some, well, Laura Lepisto and some of my old skating friends from Finland, and then Valentina Marquet from Italy.
You and your sister got married the same year. Well, this year.
Yes.
How did your parents take that?
Well, I think they were like happy. I mean, I'm sure they were happy. Of course, they were a little bit asking from us, like, oh, do you need to go like right away get married? But then, yeah, we just wanted to do it. And I think it was maybe, I mean, obviously it was nice for them too. And they had totally, or we in our family had very different weddings. My sister had a beautiful, gorgeous winter wedding in Finland on New Year's Eve. So it was very special. And then our wedding was more like a spring, summer wedding. I was doing the skating stunts for a movie about Sonja Henie. And that is coming out in December in Europe. And I don't know, I'm hoping they will sell it or they will show it somewhere in America. But I've seen the trailer of the movie, and I'm positive it will be like amazing movie, but we'll see if we can see it here in America or not.
And it's in English, yeah?
Yeah, partly in English, because then she moved to Hollywood to become a famous actress. But the first part of the movie might be in Norwegian, I'm not sure.
And you did all of her,
yes,
what she was doing back in the day, like
yeah,
axles.
it was so difficult. I'm telling you, like, I was looking at the YouTube videos in the beginning. I was like, oh, this looks so easy. She's just like running around and doing all this, like kind of dancing on the ice, and a lot of running with her toe picks and doing stuff with her toe picks. But then I went on the ice myself and tried to run on my toe picks and do all this like tuck axle and all these like crazy weird things that look easy, but oh my god, it was difficult. And I even got like the skating boots. Rydell made skating boots that look like old-fashioned. So that was a cool experience. I'm Kiira Korpi. Please check out the Finnish Grand Prix.